must have heard a statement that says the earlier the menstruation, the closer you are to menopause. Well, that statement is very, very true. Now let me prove it to you. There are many factors that can cause a lady to fall into menopause at as early as age 45 years. Though the normal menopausal age falls within the range of 45 to 55 years, and a woman will release about 400 eggs in her whole lifetime. That's on an average. So the range varies, though it's between the range of 300 to 500 eggs in our lifetime. That is, a woman will release about 300 to 500 eggs in our lifetime, but an average of 400 eggs. So we're going to stick with 400 eggs because that's our average. So a woman might fall into menopause early because she starts her menstruation at a very tender age, or because she has a very short menstrual cycle. Now let me give an instance. Let's assume normally a female should see her first menstruation within the age of 10, as early as 10 and as late as 16 years of age. But there's some cases when a female sees her first menstruation at the age of 8 years. So if she sees her first menstruation at the age of 8 years, she's likely to start ovulating early. So she has about 400 eggs to release in her whole lifetime. So imagine she's releasing eggs at a very tender age. Then she'll likely fall into menopause early. Yes, it declines with age. Yes, the numbers of eggs we release every day declines with age. So let's assume a female saw her first menstruation at the age of 8 years, and let's assume she falls into menopause around maybe 50 years, although the range is between 45 to 55 years. So let us assume she falls into menopause at the age of 50 years. So let's do the math. So 50, that's our supposed age she's likely to fall into menopause. Let's assume 50 years, then minus 8 years, that is the age when she saw her first menstruation. That's 42. 50 minus 8, that's 42. Then times 12, that is the number of eggs she released in a year. That'll give us 504. So if a woman should release about 300 to 500 eggs in our lifetime, and for a woman or for a lady who saw her first menstruation at the age of 8, and we are assuming she falls into menopause at the age of 50, imagine she releases about 504 eggs in our lifetime. And we said on an average it's between 300 to 500 eggs. So that means she's likely to fall into menopause below age 50. Yes, that's because she started her menstruation at a very tender age. She would have started ovulating at that very age till age 50. So she likes to fall into menopause earlier. Are you getting me now? But there's some cases that some women don't release eggs in a month. Yes, it happens. But ideally, the woman should release just a single egg every month. So another factor is a woman who has a short menstrual cycle. That is, what I mean by short menstrual cycle is that a woman who has a cycle length of 21 days. That is, after 21 days, she sees her next period. Yes, that's what I mean by a short cycle length. So assume she has a cycle length of 21 days. So she's likely to ovulate on day 7, yes, not day 14 now. And an average menstrual cycle length is 28 days. Then the average ovulation date is day 14, but it does not apply to all women. Yes, it depends on your cycle length. Now, for a woman who has a 26-day cycle, she's likely to ovulate on day 12, not 14. Yes. Now, for a woman who has a cycle length of 21 days, that's short or less than that. So she's likely to ovulate twice a month. I'm not talking of twice in a cycle. Yes, you can release 2 eggs in a single cycle. That is in the case of twin. Yes, instead of releasing one egg, you can release 2 eggs, or even 3. Yes, that's the case of twins or triplets. But what I mean by releasing eggs twice a month, I mean in a different menstrual cycle. Yes, I'm not talking about the same cycle. You can, like, some people menstruate twice a month. Yes, some people menstruate twice a month, and that's because their cycle is short or that month is just too long. Yes, even some people who has 26-day cycle. Yes, sometimes they can menstruate twice a month. Now, for a woman who has a normal menstrual cycle, that is, she sees her menstruation after 28 days or after 26 days. Yes, they are still normal. At least within the age of within 24-day cycle to 35-day cycle, it's still considered normal. But on an average, 28-day cycle. So let's assume for a woman, that is for a woman who sees her menstruation after 28 days. So let's assume she's like to fall into menopause at the age of 50. By assuming, so that's 50 minus. Let's assume she saw her menstruation, as her first menstruation at the age of 15. Yes, at the age of 15 years old. That is 15 minus 15. That was 35 times 12. That is the number of eggs she releases in that year. That's 50 minus 15. That is the menopausal age minus the age she saw her first menstruation. That's age 15. That is age 15. That is 35. Then times 12. That was 420. So she likely to release 420 eggs within that age range, like before she fall into menopause, before she fall into age 50. So she has an higher chance of releasing more eggs even after age 50. Why? Because I said a woman releases about 300 to 500 eggs in her own lifetime. So an average is 400 eggs. For a female who saw her first menstruation at the age of 8 years, and she likely fall into menopause at the age of 50 years. No, she would have released more than 500 eggs in her lifetime. So she's likely to fall into menopause before age 50 years. That's because she has exhausted the numbers of eggs she's meant to release in her lifetime. Now, for a woman who saw her menstruation at the age of, that's her first menstruation, at the age of 16 years. And let's assume she fall into menopause at the age of 50. So now, 50 minus 16, that'll give us 34. Then times 12. That's numbers of eggs she released in a year. That is 408 eggs in a lifetime. So she has many eggs to spare. Such a person is not likely to fall into menopause at the age of 50 years. Yes, because she's likely to still release more eggs. Like I said, the average is 400, but she can release about 500 eggs in her whole lifetime. So let's assume she's 50 years and she has released about 408 eggs. She can still release more eggs. That means she might not fall into menopause at the age of 50. Probably 55. Yeah, why? Because she has more eggs to spare compared to a lady or a female who start her menstruation at the age of 8 years. She will likely fall into menopause earlier, maybe before the age of 50 years. She will likely fall into menopause earlier, that is before the age of 50. Yes, she might still release more eggs after 50 years of age, but for such a person, she's likely to fall into menopause early compared to a female who started her menstruation who started late.